Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Gig Harbor City Council meeting of Monday, December 12th, 2022. The time is 5:32, I believe, p.m. And I will call roll from my far left. Councilmember Wook.
Here.
Councilmember Storsett.
Here.
Councilmember Rodenberg.
Here.
Councilmember Likens. Here. Councilmember Henderson.
Here.
Councilmember Denson. Here. Councilmember Barber. Here. Okay, all 7 present and accounted for. If you would all please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Thank you. Before we begin this council meeting, we would like to recognize that we are gathered on not only the ancestral and traditional lands of the Squabosh Band of the Puyallup Tribe of Indians, but also on the site of one of the largest and longest standing historic villages of the people, the original inhabitants of the Gig Harbor area. And we have an amended agenda, which if you need a copy, it is on the back table back there. And council, you all should have them in front of you. Are there any changes to the agenda this evening?
Yes, Mayor, I request to have item number 5 and 6 pulled from the consent agenda.
5 and 6. Okay, give me a moment to organize my packet here. Any objections from council? Okay. Let me get those. So item 5 will become new business. Well, Josh, can we talk about these at the end of the passing of the consent agenda, or do we have to add them to new business?
Yeah, once the consent agenda is approved, you can go immediately into these 2 items.
Okay,
and review them
perfect.
and vote on them.
All right. So is there a motion to approve the
I move to accept the consent agenda.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, motion passes 7-0. So then we will go right into consent agenda, or I'm sorry, hold on. We've got, making sure I'm getting it together here. Hold on. Okay, so this item number 5 is the appointment of Mark Burkhardt to the Planning Commission. And Councilmember Wook, since you pulled this, I'll let you explain why, and then we'll get into discussion.
Sure, I'm just going to vote nay. And there are a lot of things on the consent agenda that I'm very much in favor of. This is not one of them.
Okay. Any discussion? Councilmember Denson?
So I think we need a motion, right? So I will
Yes.
move to confirm the appointment of Mark Burkhardt of the Planning Commission with the term expiring June 30th, 2026.
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Denson, second by Councilmember Barber. Any discussion, council? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Any abstain? Okay, motion passes 6-1 for item 5. And then moving on to item 6, resolution 1266, adopting revised city council guidelines and procedures. And again, I'll ask Councilmember Wook to start.
Sure. We don't have to have this on the, we don't have to have a motion here in order to have discussion.
Well, if you just want to explain, well, I guess we can have a motion and a second, and then you can explain why you pulled it off, either way. Josh, what is the preferred method here?
So for this, you would need to have a motion to approve the resolution, and then the resolution could be amended by motion.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve resolution 1266?
I make a motion to approve resolution 1266, adopting revised city council guidelines and procedures.
Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Barber. Okay, council discussion, Councilmember Wook.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to discuss the part of this that's on page 11 of 37 or page 8 of 34 of the document under the paragraph, the third paragraph under public comment. Currently, our citizens who are not able to attend meetings in person, who are not able to Zoom, may submit a letter to the clerk, ask that it be read into the official legal record of the city council meeting, and that letter will be read and marked as a legal document. With the passage of this document, citizens will not be able to submit a letter to the council and ask that it be part of the legal document of the meeting. So before, currently, if you're not able to attend, you can have your letter read into the record. With this document passage, it removes the right of citizens to have their letter read into the record. So, and the reasons for that is if you're a parent of an athlete or a coach or practicing probably at 5:30 in the evening, so your chances of being here are not very good. And your chances of being able to make a comment by Zoom might be difficult as well. You can still send in a letter, but that letter will not be read into the record of the city council member meeting. If you're a retail business owner and you are dealing with the public and not able to attend a city council meeting or a Zoom meeting upon passage of this document, you can still send in a letter, but that letter will no longer be read into the record of the city council meeting. We are a bedroom community, so if you're stuck on Highway 16, who isn't, and that's often the case, and not able to attend a meeting at 5:30, we hope you're not Zooming as you're driving, so you probably won't be able to submit any comments by Zoom. You could have still sent in a letter, but your letter and your words will no longer be allowed to be in the record of a city council meeting. We're supposed to be building bridges and better communication with our public and not putting up walls to block citizen communication from the legal record. I do not support any change that eliminates the public's right to have their letter be read into the record of our city council meeting. You know, if we had 15, 20 letters every meeting, I can understand why there'd be some concern, but quite frankly, we hardly ever have anyone submit a letter. And I just don't want to see us put up any blocks to keep them from it. So I would move to amend this document and instead insert this paragraph. The city council will accept written comments for all city council meetings. Written comments must be submitted to the city clerk at cityclerk@gigharborwa.gov at least 4 hours in advance of the meeting starting time. Written comments must include the words "for public comment" in the subject line of the email. Persons submitting written comments must include their name and address with their comments. All written comments will be included in the online packet for the meeting and will be forwarded to the mayor and city council members for their review. Written comments will be read aloud during the meeting upon the request of the commenter, subject to 300 words maximum content. And that's it.
Is there
I'll
a
second that.
Okay,
second.
seconded by Councilmember Denson. Councilmember Likens.
Yes, I have a question for City Administrator Knudsen. From the study session, I remember that there were some concerns, if I'm recollecting right, about having city staff read comments by the public with concerns for potential legal liability. Could you answer that question?
Thank you, Councilmember Likens. You're correct. At the work session, we did discuss how this could be potentially problematic. We have received complaints from citizens who did send in letters that were unhappy that the clerk was not reading their letter with the correct intonation or in the right tenor. And then additionally, there is the potential for, since it would be Josh's voice on a recording reading a comment, there is an opportunity for someone to listen to that portion of the recording and which would potentially insinuate that the city believed what was being commented on.
And if I remember correctly, it was staff's recommendation not to read them out loud, but that letters could be included in the packet?
I don't know if staff went so far to make a recommendation as to this.
Okay.
However, there are concerns with reading the letters aloud. If you recall, that was instituted during COVID when we were not in person. Staff, the executive team, we do feel that the being able to be in person as well as Zoom, either via computer or by telephone, in addition to sending comment letters to the mayor and council email ahead of the meeting is sufficient.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Henderson.
Would there be an option to have a city council member read the letters in if there's an issue with city staff and liability and tone? Is that an option that could be explored?
That would be the same. The council members are part of the city.
Councilmember Denson.
Yes, Director Knudsen or Mr. Stecker, do we have any examples of other cities who are doing this? Have we looked into that?
Yeah, after the implementation of Zoom, we checked in with several other cities on their policies. This was probably a year and a half ago or so when we were still meeting remotely. I think we found 2 cities that were still reading written comments aloud, but the rest of the cities all required live in-person comments or emails directly to the council.
Councilmember Barber.
Would it be possible to have the written comments that are sent to city clerk 4 hours before the meeting to be included in the public record as written, but not read out loud? Would that be a suitable substitute to assist with the liability issue?
This goes back to our discussion about public hearing versus public comment. And so any comments that are received written or otherwise are included in the packet. I will note that if anyone testifies either on Zoom, by phone, computer, or live, those are transcribed by the city clerk into the minutes.
Councilmember Wook, your light is on. Did you have another? Oh, okay. So we have a motion. We have a second. Any other questions from council? Clarifying questions? Okay. Oh, did you have one?
Yeah, so just to clarify, Director Knudsen, what you just said, if anybody does send in a letter to mayor and council, it is included in the packet, or sorry, this could go to Mr. Stecker as well.
It is for public hearings. And so for public hearings, we're required to take citizen input. And if it's for a public hearing, those are included in the packet. For general public comment that is currently received, we do not place those in the packet. However, council does receive those by email. So the citizen comments are getting to council. In effect, they just wouldn't be in the record.
Okay, well, I'll just add a comment in terms of discussion, if that's okay, Mayor.
Yes.
Struggling with this because I agree with Councilmember Wook. She makes some really great points, and I'd love for people to be able to have their testimony read if they can't be here. They're in their car and they can't participate via Zoom. I'm struggling because of the legal. I understand the legal implications and the concerns of people if the intonation is not the way that they intended it. I'm thinking of that one guy who reads all of the News Tribune articles, and it's the same one, right? It's like a recorded thing. And I wish we could maybe find a way of doing something like that at some point, but we might get criticism for that as well. So I'm definitely struggling with this because I appreciate Councilmember Wook's point, but I also don't want the city to get into any issues with misrepresenting anybody's sentiments. Thank you.
Mayor,
Um,
City Clerk Stecker had one more item he wished to say.
Sure.
I don't know if you could see around the tree.
Barely.
Apologies, I'm kind of hidden back here. So just on the issue of on the record and for the record, I just want to make it clear that any emails that come to the council or the mayor are permanent records and they are held by the city forever. They are part of our permanent record, just the same as a council packet is part of the record. The issue that we ran into logistically from the way we were doing emails before, where they had to be addressed to the city clerk to be part of the official packet and printed on the website, was more of a communication issue where we found people in the community who wanted to comment on things, but didn't know that they had to send it to the city clerk to have it be put in the record and put aloud. And so we got several complaints from people that didn't understand why their comments were not part of the packet and someone else's were if it was a different viewpoint. It created quite a bit of confusion on several issues that we've had recently. Having all of the comments go to mayor and council eliminates that. So all comments are on an equal footing.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Rodenberg.
I just wanted to clarify to the I just want to clarify to the public that when we get letters that are addressed to mayor and council, and some of them may say for public comment, I can assure you that the city council reads those letters. Those are a lot of what we base our decisions upon. I guess there is some reason for wanting them in the public record, but just to make it clear, when we get those letters, we read them. It's not like they're being ignored, and anything that's been said here tonight about them not going on the public record does not mean we didn't read it. We read every record, every attachment. So I just want to make sure the public knows that.
Thank you. Councilmember Wook.
Yes, thank you. Again, my concern is that we were doing this during COVID. And for some reason now this is being stopped. And my concern again is for those people who are not able, for the different reasons I mentioned, to either be here in person or not able to Zoom in person. Sometimes it takes a while to get to Zoom meetings. So I just want to make sure that every citizen has an opportunity to have their words be recorded on the record when there is something they're passionate about comes before council. And that's my reason for wanting to stick up for our citizens. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So we have a motion and we have a second, and I'll do a roll call vote just so I'm clear. This is just on the amendment for section, I think it's 2.5, section 4. Is that correct, Josh? Or I'm sorry, not section 4, section 9. Is it 9? Okay.
It's section 2.3.
2.3. Just want to make sure we're getting it right. 2.3, addressing public comment. Okay, so I'm going to do on my little sheet here instead of left to right. Councilmember Barber,
No.
Councilmember Denson,
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson,
I'll vote yes.
Councilmember Likens,
No?
Councilmember Rodenberg,
No.
Councilmember Storsett,
No.
Councilmember Wook.
Yes.
Okay, so motion does not pass. 4 noes, 3 yeses. Okay. So we have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 1266, adopting the revised City Council guidelines and procedures. And again, I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Barber,
Yes.
Councilmember Denson,
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Likens,
Yes?
Councilmember Rodenberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Storsett,
Yes.
Councilmember Wook.
Nay.
Okay, motion carries 6-1. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, council. And we will move on to our presentation. And I'm very happy to be able to read a proclamation this evening, and I would like to welcome Twyla Slind, the legal rights for the Salish Sea. And I'll read this and then I'll have you come up and say a few words if you'd like. So proclamation of the mayor of the city of Gig Harbor, recognizing the rights and value of the Southern resident orca. Whereas the Southern resident orcas are culturally and economically important to the people of Washington state and the world, and whereas despite legal protections for nearly 2 decades, the population continues to decline and is critically endangered with only 74 individuals remaining, and whereas over 20 countries, dozens of local communities in the United States, and several tribal governments have recognized that nature has inherent rights and that human society has the responsibility to protect and steward nature. And whereas the rights of the Southern resident orcas include but are not limited to the right of life, autonomy, free and safe passage, adequate food supply from naturally occurring sources, and freedom from conditions causing physical, emotional, or mental harm, including a habitat degraded by noise, pollution, and contamination. And whereas major factors in the decline of the Southern resident orca population include captures from marine parks in the 1960s and 70s, declining salmon runs, toxic pollution, loss of habitat, and increasing vessel traffic and noise levels in Puget Sound and the ocean. And whereas bringing attention to the Southern resident orcas will also bring attention to the need to clean up Puget Sound and restore and conserve important Puget Sound habitats and Chinook salmon spawning grounds. And whereas we are fortunate to have this community of Southern resident orcas in our midst, know them as individuals and pods, and watch them from our ferries, boats, and many miles of shoreline. And whereas we have only begun to learn about the intelligence and social capabilities of Southern resident orcas, and whereas Washington state supports efforts to recover this endangered population of Southern resident orcas. Now therefore, I, Tracy Markley, Mayor of the City of Gig Harbor, Washington, do hereby proclaim that the City of Gig Harbor supports and urges action by local, state, federal, and tribal governments that secure and effectuate the rights of the Southern resident orcas and of the ecosystems upon which they depend. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Gig Harbor to be affixed this 12th day of December, 2022.
Okay, can you hear me? On behalf of Legal Rights for the Salish Sea and the Earth Law Center, we'd like to extend our gratitude and appreciation to Mayor Markley and City Councilwoman Wook for supporting this proclamation, recognizing the inherent rights of the Southern resident orcas. In 2016, Dr. Chris Kevorkian founded Legal Rights for the Salish Sea right here in Gig Harbor. And we joined the Rights of Nature movement and began our work on educating our communities to recognize the inherent rights of the Southern resident orcas. You remember in 2018, Taliqua, a family member of our Southern resident orca J-Pod, spoke to the world of her sorrow as she carried her dead calf through the Salish Sea for 17 heartbreaking days. What do you think she was saying all that time? What we heard was, "Help me. We are dying." And still the population continued to decline despite environmental laws that were supposed to protect them. Rights of nature means that we recognize that the earth and all her ecosystems are living beings with inalienable rights to exist, to live free of cruelty, and to maintain the vital processes necessary for the harmonious balance that supports all life. Corporations in this country have rights that can be argued legally in a court of law. Human animals and ecosystems do not. I also want to recognize the pioneering work and commitment to ocean rights by Michelle Bender and Elizabeth Dunn at Earth Law Center. Without them, we wouldn't have gotten this far. And many thanks to Ken Balcom and our friends at the Center for Whale Research, Dr. Deborah Giles at Wild Orca, Howard Garrett, Susan Berta, and Cindy Hansen, and everyone at Orca Network. We are also grateful for the support we've received from our friends from the North Olympic Orca Pod who are here in person and virtually. The Gig Harbor Mayor and supporters have reminded us of the words of Dr. Jane Goodall, quote, "We are simply one animal species on our planet, not separate, not superior." Thank you so much.
Here. We should go this way. Oh, the mayor. Yeah. You want to see some? There you go.
I'm lucky.
Okay, got it.
I'm trying to stand tall. All right.
It's a highly technical.
Highly technical term.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you for your enthusiasm for this proclamation. Thank you very much.
You are welcome. Councilmember Denson, did you have something?
Yes, I just wanted to thank Twyla Slind and all the people that she mentioned. But I remember Twyla talking to me about this 4 years ago, and she was probably working on it before then as well. So thank you for your perseverance. Thank you, Mayor, for moving on this so quickly. Thank you, Councilmember Wook, for bringing this, I believe, to the mayor's attention. And thank you, to Katrina Knudsen for getting it done so quickly. And I was on the ferry to Seattle just last week, and the ferry came to a halt, and there was an orca pod right in Elliott Bay. And I'd seen it once before in like 18 years in this area. And this is only the second time I'd ever seen it. And the ferry guys were so excited. And they told me that like the week before they'd had 3 resident pods that were all there at the same time. And that ferry sat there for a half hour. And you know, it was, everybody appreciates that it's the animals' right to be there, and we value them so much that people were willing to just sit there and wait and happily do so. Everyone was taking pictures. It was just amazing. So thank you for your work. We want more of that.
Thank you so much. I would totally wait for 30 minutes and watch orcas. I forget my appointment. That's the best excuse ever. Exactly. Oh, this is so great. Well, so for my mayor's report, I know, thank you all again for coming and celebrating Councilmember Denson. And I just wanted to thank her again for her years of service on the council and on the city's Parks Commission. And we're looking forward to continuing to work with her on the Pierce County Council. We had an amazing tree lighting ceremony on December 3rd. It was so fun. The live band had everyone dancing despite the cold. It was so great. Our police officers were wonderful with the street closure, and our volunteer cops were there. Public Works, Jeff, you and your crew have decked the halls downtown, and it looks so good all through the city with the wreaths and the garland, and it is. I saw them up in that little bucket machine, whatever you call that. Yes, all over town, putting up garland and lights with smiles on their faces, and it was just so great. So I appreciate our team, our whole city staff, everyone involved in making that event so wonderful, making our harbor so pretty. It just is really, it's looking so good. We also had a great boat parade. That was awesome. We had some staff that had their boats out there. Go Huskies. Sorry, Chief BC. Jeff's boat looked pretty good. It really looked good. That was Jeff's boat. Yes. So that was amazing. Thank you to everyone that came downtown and shopped in our stores and ate at restaurants and just enjoyed the parade. That was really great. We have Shop with a Cop tomorrow. What is it Holiday Heroes, where some of our officers takes children that might not have many presents for under their tree and they take them shopping. And it's just a wonderful thing. And I can't wait to see the pictures and hear all the stories of these kiddos picking out toys. So thank you to your department and to you for doing that every year. It's really amazing. January 14th, this is a little ways out, I guess a month out. It's a Saturday at 10 a.m. We are going to have here we go. We have a beautiful announcement. An ungroundbreaking ceremony for the phase 3 of the North Creek Salmon Heritage Site. And so there will be, it looks like there'll be a map provided, and it's going to be, I think it's right along parking. It's behind Donkey Creek Park, correct? Is that where parking is going to be, Katrina?
I would say stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Our
Okay.
GIS analyst, Mike Simmons, is putting together a map to show people where to
Perfect.
park and how to walk safely onto the site.
Perfect. Okay. So this is going to be exciting. We hope that you'll join us. This is part of the 40+ acres that the city has recently purchased to preserve in the heart of our downtown. So we hope everyone will come out for that. And that concludes my mayor's report, and I will turn it over to our city administrator, Katrina Knudsen, for her report.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council. Couple of updates for you this evening. First is a code enforcement report. I know that Adam Blodgett, Officer Blodgett, and Carl DeSimis were with you a couple of months ago discussing the code and how we can enforce it consistent with council perspectives. And Adam has done a great job of pulling together our 2022 code enforcement cases. And I'd like to just note that we are now under our first year of having a full-time code enforcement officer, which thank you, council, that has been done wonders for both community development and public works in making sure that our codes are being followed. For 2022, there were 91 cases so far. Oh, December's not over, but 91 cases. Of that, and this really goes to Adam Blodgett's professionalism and knowledge of the code, only 2 were appealed of 91 cases, which is great. Of all the cases, we have a case closure rate of 80%, and most of those are done within 2 weeks. So we're able to work with the folks to gain compliance and resolve the issues. There will be only 18 cases that will be remaining open crossing the year. Adam very much likes to close them all out and have a fresh start, but there will be 18 cases that he's still working on. On the pie chart up here, I know it's a little bit difficult to see, but our most violated code is regarding public nuisance, and that could be noise or barking dogs, roosters, those sorts of things. And that is in the dark blue up there. And the gray is work without permits. So that could be a deck without a permit or tenant improvement that was done without permits. In the orange, those are zoning complaints. And so that could be setbacks or inconsistent land uses that are going into specific properties. And then I didn't write down the color and the lighter blue color is the next one, the 4th highest, and that's critical area violations. And then Josh, did you have the sign sweep data? Late breaking news, Adam put together sign sweep data, and the large moral of this story is our education regarding signs is working. We've had more signs. You can see on 2022 on the right-hand side, more sign permits were applied for. The orange are signs collected on sign sweeps. And so you can see that that is down from 2020, 2021, which is impressive since we just had an election year. So I think that is great. And then we only had 95 signs that did not have permits out this season, and that's the
Wow.
gray. So that is a really good news story. That's telling us that staff's education is working. That's for the year. Yes. So we will continue to work on compliance through education first. But it has been great to have Adam full-time because we had additional sign sweep availability this year to keep those signs in the places where they're supposed to be. So big kudos to Adam Blodgett and Carl and community development on that. It's wonderful. Secondly is Dave Rodenbach is enjoying a well-deserved vacation after getting us through our biennial budget process, but really kudos to he and his team. The state auditors recently completed our 4 audits that were done this year. The first was a complete financial statement audit for 2021. And that looks to make sure that our city financial operations are consistent with our internal policies and state policies. The second was an accountability audit, and that looks for our internal controls to ensure that money is being spent consistent with our policies as well as state policies. The third was a transportation benefit district or TBD audit. And that was our first audit for that because of the passage of the tax for the transportation benefit district needed to ensure that we were managing that fund consistent with how it was approved. And last, we had an alternative compliance engagement audit, and that we had to have that one this year because of federal ARPA funds that were provided to us during the pandemic. And I'm very pleased to say that we've received no instances of non-compliance, and we are completely consistent with government auditing standards. So this is really wonderful news and should show that the city is very good steward of the public's dollar and that we're following and spending money according to what is set forth by council. So big kudos to Dave and his team on ensuring that we continue to have very high ratings there. The senior center, I know that council's very interested in senior center and how we can fund an opportunity for seniors. The Penmet Parks is putting on a meeting tomorrow. I know I've talked to you about that. An hour-long meeting just to talk generally about building partnerships regarding senior services and a senior center. And I'm happy to report that various seniors will be in attendance, as well as the YMCA. Pierce County will be there, the Fish Food Bank, the Greater Gig Harbor Foundation, as well as the city. And so all of these entities will be sitting around one table for the first time, maybe ever, talking about how we can provide services to our seniors, which I know is very high priority for council members and the mayor. We'll be sure to get back to you and tell you how that's going as well. Lastly, I'd like to point out that Robin Bolster Grant was a senior planner, and she was recently promoted to principal planner after Carl vacated that position for community development director. So that's we're very, very excited. Robin comes to us with over 25 years of land use experience. She's also an attorney. I don't know if she wants you to know that, but she's very, very smart, loves the city, and is just a very collaborative individual. And so we're really looking forward to her taking over management of the planning team. And then some of you may know this, but recently Shannon Costanti was appointed our permanent human resources director. And so that is a promotion from HR analyst, and we could not be more pleased with her stepping into that executive level position.
Yeah.
So I will end on that good note. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Lots of good news. We will now open up the public comment for non-agenda items. So if, Josh, first of all, is there anyone in I can't see anyone in the online audience, but can you watch for hands for me?
Yeah, I'll be watching for hands. No-
Okay.
No written comments for,
Okay. And since the passage of that last, do I still ask that at the beginning of each meeting or at the beginning of each item if there were written comments received?
for the rest of this meeting.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Is there anyone in our audience this evening that wishes in person that wishes to speak? Okay, you can come forward to the podium and feel free to move the microphone to however you need it to be, and you'll have 3 minutes. And if you could state your full name and address for the record.
I will. I'm Mary Kozlowski. I live at 4340 Morgan Boulevard in Gig Harbor. I'm repeating some of what Oscar Roberto said last council meeting because I was so disappointed watching on Zoom, not being able to speak, that the council voted to move quickly on building phase 3 of the proposed sports complex. Oscar reminded everyone that the vast majority of the 1,200 children who were reported as being unable to sign up for sports leagues because of lack of field space actually do not live in Gig Harbor, but in fact live on the peninsula. It seems to me that we should be looking at space available through Penmark's parks instead of having Gig Harbor foot the entire bill for fields, as well as building them in congested residential areas of our small city. The planned feasibility study, which apparently the council wishes to bypass, would hopefully take a look at the fields available at schools and parks in the entire area, not just Gig Harbor. There are plenty of fields available for the children of Gig Harbor, just not for the children of the entire peninsula. What's more, this plan also provides for large tournaments, which would involve teams all over Puget Sound. Our city is too small for this invasion. Let's not forgo the feasibility study. Let's not move too quickly. Let's examine the alternatives. Please. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in our audience this evening that wishes to speak on a non-agenda item? Sure, come forward. And again, you'll have 3 minutes, and if you could state your full name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Patrick Alman, and I live at 3704 59th Street, Court Northwest, Gig Harbor, Washington. I appreciate.
I guess they can't hear you. Maybe,
My name is Patrick Alman, and I live at 3704 59th Street, Court Northwest, Gig Harbor, Washington. I appreciate the work Gig Harbor has done to improve safety. However, I'm concerned about the current plan for 38th Avenue and the streetlights that will be constructed. If Phase 2 is going to be handled the same way Phase 1 was, then the construction and the project as a whole will significantly impact the environment and quality of life along this road. This project will significantly reduce the number of existing trees, which act as a light and sound barrier for those living along 38th Avenue, diminishing our quality of life. This green belt also acts as a passageway and habitat for local wildlife, especially those that were affected by the construction of the Cove development. The addition of more streetlights in Phase 2 is deeply concerning, since the blue light within LED streetlights can damage the circadian rhythms of our local wildlife. Plants and animals depend on Earth's day and night cycle to guide their behaviors, and scientific studies have found evidence suggesting that artificial light at night has negative and even deadly effects on many of our native creatures, including amphibians, birds, mammals, insects, and plants. Humans aren't immune from this either. Blue light emitted from streetlights is the same blue light doctors tell us is bad for our eyes, and why we are always told not to be on our devices before bed. We were recently referred to as a city straight out of a Norman Rockwell painting, but I wonder how long we will be able to hold on to that title if we eliminate that picturesque landscape in the name of improvement. If we aren't careful, Gig Harbor will lose its uniqueness and become just another bathroom stop on someone's trip somewhere else. I love Gig Harbor, and I can't imagine growing up somewhere else, because there isn't any other place quite like here. In high school, I watched as forest after forest was demolished, and I lost hope that I would ever be able to make a change. I know that there are so many young people just like me who feel their voices are lost in a sea of adults who don't understand that their future is being taken away from them. I was born in 2001 into a world with a future that felt already decided for me, and I asked the city council to show that young people can make a difference. Show us that we can make a change in the world, even if it's as small as stopping some sidewalks and streetlights. Show me I wasn't born 21 years too late to make a difference. Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else in the audience here this evening that would like to speak on a non-agenda item? Okay, seeing none, Josh, are there any, you can, for our online audience, thank you for joining us. You can press *9 on your phone or the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen.
I see no raised hands.
Okay. All right, we will close the public comment on non-agenda items. Thank you to those that commented. We really do appreciate you coming and sharing your thoughts with us very much. So we'll move on to old business item number 1, which is the second reading of ordinance 1505, providing for the issuance and sale of a limited tax general obligation bond. And this report will come to us from our city administrator, Katrina Knudsen.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening again, Council. This is the second reading of the ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of limited tax general obligation bonds in an amount not to exceed $4,250,000. This ordinance delegates authority to the mayor, city administrator, and finance director to issue the bonds in the amount not to exceed the aforementioned amount at an interest rate not to exceed 5.25% and with a term not to exceed 10 years. The proceeds of these bonds will reimburse the city for the $4.2 million spent on the Shaw Warren property purchase, which closed on October 31st of this year. This concludes my remarks, but I would like to thank our partners, Dave Tragsar from DA Davidson and Company and Scott McJanet from KL Gates Law for their support. And they are also online right now if council has any questions that would have typically gone to Dave Rodenbach, who is off enjoying vacation. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, Scott and Dave, if you're there. Council, do you have any clarifying questions? Councilmember Denson.
I just had one question. I hear that the Federal Reserve may do one more additional slight interest rate hike before the end of the year. And I don't know if you've heard that and how that might affect our bond sale.
Hi, good evening, Mayor, Council. Thank you, Katrina. This is Dave Tragesser. Hope you can hear me okay.
We can, thank you.
Thank you. To the question about the Federal Reserve action, that has been widely anticipated by the market. And in actuality, since our last visit with you on the 28th, bond yields have actually trended a little lower because of better inflation numbers. We do expect the Fed to continue to take action throughout 2023, as long as inflation is a big problem for our market. However, again, those have been widely anticipated. Our current plan is to release our request for proposal in the next day or two and close this bond issue by the end of January.
Great, thank you so much for that. Any other questions, council, for Dave or for Scott? Okay, not seeing any. Thank you so much for being here to answer questions. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us out.
So we'll open up the public comment period for this agenda item. And Josh, were there any written comments received?
No written comments for this item.
Okay. Anyone in our audience this evening that would like to speak on this agenda item? Okay. Anyone in our online audience? Again, you can press the raise hand button at the bottom of your Zoom screen or *9 on your phone. And you may have to press *6 to unmute. Forgot to say that the first time. Any hands raised?
No raised hands in the audience.
Okay, so we'll close public comment on this agenda item and I'll open it up for council deliberation and or action. Councilmember Likens.
Yes, I move to approve ordinance 1505.
Second.
Okay. Any other comments from council? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, motion passes 7-0. Thank you, council. And we will go right on to new business, item number 1, which is resolution 1267, rescinding the emergency proclamation of 2020 and 2021. Can't read tonight. Suggested motion is to move to approve resolution 1267, and this report will also come to us from our city administrator, Katrina Knudsen.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. On March 23rd of 2020, previous Mayor Kit Kuhn proclaimed a local emergency in response to the novel coronavirus or COVID-19 in order to enact measures to protect public health and safety. The council ratified that at a meeting later that day. Governor Jay Inslee has since, additionally, there was a statewide emergency proclamation that was rescinded on October 31st of this year. However, our local proclamation is still on the books, and that's why we're here this evening. Our local proclamation did provide a means to offer a late payment fee for utility payments and suspended single-use plastic requirements such as plastic straws, and also gave us the ability to conduct meetings only, remote only. 30 days after the proclamation is rescinded, if passed tonight, the city's ban on single-use plastic food serviceware will go back into effect. And after 6 months, any utility service charges remaining delinquent will be treated as delinquent and be subject to interest. There's been some questions regarding if this will affect the special use, the temporary special use provisions for outdoor seating. And that was not tied to our local emergency. That was tied to the statewide emergency. So I believe that Carl, what was the date? 60 days from 90 days from the October date. So Carl and his team are working with all the businesses still utilizing the outdoor seating allowed by that in order to ensure that they are either where they need to remove that by the end of that 90 days or encouraging them to apply for the proper land use permits. But again, that is not subject to this action this evening. And with that, Mayor, concludes my report, and staff recommends that council move to approve resolution 1267.
Okay, great. Any clarifying questions from council? I don't know. I think Mary, I think you're Councilmember Barber, I think you were first, and then
Beat you,
Councilmember
Roger.
Henderson.
Yes, I am fully supportive of rescinding this ordinance or the resolution, but I'm wondering what the communication mechanism will be to the restaurants and the businesses that, especially for the single-use ban that goes back into effect. If you could describe that, please.
Yes, we've collected a list of contact for most of the businesses here in the community. This law went into effect, I think, just 3 years ago. So we'll basically follow the same procedure we went through when we notified all the businesses that the law was coming into effect. We'll do an email campaign. We have a PDF flyer that will go around. We'll get notice out on our website and Facebook, just following the normal communication channels that we have.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Likens.
Yes, just a question, probably for City Administrator Knutson. For those who have utility service charges, is there a plan to work with them? And, how do we reach out, and is it a large number? Yeah.
To answer that, I will ask our Public Works Director to come to the
Terrific.
mic.
Thank you, Jeff.
Good evening, council. Yes, we are working with city attorney to establish a process for repayment of outstanding utility fees. It's going to be similar to what other jurisdictions around us in the region are doing. And so we hope to have that at a study session in early January and possibly ready for adoption by the second council meeting in January.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other clarifying questions from council? Okay, not seeing any. I will open up the public comment on this agenda item. Is there anyone in or Josh, were there any written comments received?
No written comments on this one.
Okay. Anyone in our audience tonight that wishes to speak on this agenda item? Okay, seeing none. In our online audience, if there's anyone that wishes to speak, you can push *9 or your raised hand button.
I have no raised hands in the online audience.
Okay, all right, we'll close public comment and I'll open it up for council deliberation and action. Councilmember Wook.
Yes, thank you. I move to approve resolution 1267.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I don't see any other lights. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, motion passes 7-0. Thank you, council. And moving right along to our second item of new business. This is ordinance 1506, accepting the donation of $50,000 from the Greater Tacoma Community Foundation to fund Phase 3 of the North Creek Salmon Heritage Site. And the suggested motion is to move to approve ordinance 1506. And again, lady of the hour, Katrina Knutson, City Administrator, for the report.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council. Apologies for the last minute addition to the agenda. However, the Gig Harbor Land Conservation Fund has indicated they would like to provide us the $50,000 that they set aside to dedicate to the city for Phase 3 of the North Creek Salmon Heritage Site Phase 3. And so this ordinance tonight simply allows us to accept the donation. Anything over $20,000 must come forward. What we must seek council approval to accept of monetary, anything over 20,000. And since this is $50,000 that's coming to the city, that's essentially what this ordinance does this evening. We would like to say thank you very much to Councilmember Denson and everyone at the Gig Harbor Land Conservation Fund for partnering with us on this great conservation project.
Thank you. Any clarifying questions from council? Okay, seeing none, I'll open up the public comment on this agenda item. Were there any written comments received?
No written comments.
Okay, anyone in our audience this evening wish to speak on this agenda item? Okay, seeing none, our online audience, anyone wish to speak on this agenda item?
We have no raised hands online.
Okay, we'll close the public comment and I'll open it up for council deliberation and action. Councilmember Denson.
I'm very excited about this. The Gig Harbor Land Conservation Fund, of which I am a part, we're very, very excited to partner with the city. We're so thankful for the city's efforts in all of the conservation projects this year. We've accomplished 40 acres of conservation projects, and the Gig Harbor Land Conservation Fund came about legally after the first two phases. And so we were really excited to be able to contribute to phase 3. As the community has heard previously, phase 3 is at the corner of Austin and Harborview. We're having the big ungroundbreaking celebration January 14th. So as the mayor said, hopefully everybody can join us. And we really felt this property was important because the stormwater from any development that was slated to happen on that property within the next year would dump right into the mouth of North Creek, which is also known as Donkey Creek. So all of the salmon, all of, the fishes that are coming up would go through, quite a bit of pollution right there at the mouth. And as we're doing so much work on conserving the upland properties and the properties where North Creek goes through the streamside forest that we've conserved, it's so important to preserve the waters right at the mouth. It's also an important wildlife corridor in that area for not only our fish, but our deer and eagles and blue herons. And finally, it's just a gorgeous stand of trees. And as people come into the harbor on boats or driving around the harbor, there's these trees right in the corner of our harbor. And I know that we're all very concerned about, retaining the character and natural beauty of our area, and the tree canopy is really important to that. So we had a lot of donations. This $50,000 was raised in less than a month from the community right here in Gig Harbor. We had donations of $10 all the way up to $20,000. And most of the donations, though, were small. They were $25, $100. And it was just really neat to see the community come together and say, they were excited to have a way of helping to preserve the environment and the character and the beauty of Gig Harbor. So very excited about this. And thank you to the city for allowing the citizen group to be a part of conservation efforts here in Gig Harbor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Wook.
Yes, so this conservation effort came through and from the beginning and under the guidance of Councilmember Robin Denson, and we will miss you greatly here on this council for many, many reasons. And we are so glad that you continue to guide this conservation group and looking after land here on the peninsula. So thank you for that effort. And it's a wonderful thing that you started. It's a wonderful thing that you guide, and we're all very much richer. This community is much richer with this land and for having you guide it. So thank you very much, Councilor Denson.
Thank you. Councilmember Denson, did you have? Oh, okay. Councilmember Likens.
Yes, I just wanted to echo the words of Councilmember Wook in gratitude to Councilmember Denson. It's quite a legacy that you are leaving here on council, and this is a big part of it, and we just really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Now I do have something else.
Now
to
you
say.
have your light. Okay.
I appreciate those kind words, but I want the community to know that these were unanimous decisions on conserving these properties. And in past years, that would not have been the case. So this is all of our legacy that we can really be proud of. Council, the mayor, and the staff that have worked really hard to make this happen, because these land purchases are not easy. So thank you.
Councilmember Rundberg.
Yes, I think it's important for the public to know that all these portions, all phases of this actually had approved plats for development before the city got involved and purchased them. So to the community that says this council doesn't care about trees, I would like them to note that we just purchased 40 acres to do nothing but preserve in a natural habitat.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Council Benson should do this.
I move to approve ordinance 1506.
I'll be happy to second that.
Oh, this time, okay, I think Councilmember Henderson got the second there. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you, council. All right, so we will move on to our council reports and comments section. Anybody have anything they would like to add? Let's see, council member, oh, all the lights are going on. All right, we might go alphabetical because I don't know. Councilmember Barber, let's start with you.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I'm probably going to begin echoing the comments of everyone else. I just wanted to thank Councilmember Denson for everything that she's done. I think that she's kind of been my little seatmate here and helping me to learn the ropes. And I really appreciate everything that you've done and the leadership that you've shown. And I look forward to continuing to work with you.
Thank you. Councilmember Denson.
We even dressed alike tonight. No, I just want to.
Yeah, we got the red memo.
I just want to remind everybody that this Saturday is the lighted car parade. And thanks to Pete
Yes.
Busey, he's been a big part of helping make this better and better every year. And the fire department has been really helpful too. So between 4 and 7, it starts at Uptown, starts at and ends, goes through downtown, goes through Gig Harbor North. But in addition to the lighted car parade, we're also having a Santa's Village this year. So I mean, there's a lot of places to watch the lighted car parade, but you might just want to go to Uptown because you can see the parade leave, shop at our local artisans and crafters and vendors, and then see the parade come back. Santa's going to be there. And so you can take your picture with Santa. We've got a sleigh being pulled by reindeer. I mean, it's awesome. So lighted car parade this Saturday in Uptown from 4 to 7:30, actually. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you. I'd like to give my update on the Whisper Executive Committee meeting that I attended.
Yeah.
December 8th. It was a pretty big meeting, long one. We discussed a lot of things, but first thing, we discussed the quarterly meetings. There's 4 meetings a year. In the past year or 2 years, they've all been on Zoom. We're going to have 2 that are actually in person. I've generously offered up Gig Harbor to be one of the meetings, hosting one of the meetings. I'll work with you on place, time, and whatnot. We received updates on legislative items in 2023 related to ecosystem recovery and salmon. This is a long session. There's going to be a lot going on. One of the hot topics right now is the 6-PPD quinone. For those of you that don't know, that's a fairly toxic compound found in tires, and it comes from tire dust. It's incredibly toxic to salmon, and it gets in our streams and our water bodies and just completely destroys things. There may be some impacts to our local stormwater treatment requirements coming down the line. That's being looked at right now of how do we treat our stormwater runoff from things like Highway State Route 316, whatnot, or even within the city itself. So stay tuned for that. We had updates on local and regional recovery work, salmon recovery work. There's an incredible amount of work going on. Bainbridge Island, Bremerton, Port Orchard, Poulsbo, Pierce County, even with salmon projects. And Gig Harbor, I reported on quite a few things. Actually, when I was going to type it up, I thought I'm not going to have much to say, but I had a long list of things, which I'm actually very proud of. Talked about our North Creek Salmon Heritage Site lands, addition of climate change to the comp plan that got a lot of claps from everybody. We're developing a climate action plan, development of an urban forest management plan, and also our ongoing project to daylight North Creek at Harborview. So I'm pretty impressed what's going on along the Salish Sea. And lastly, we went through approved the 2023 work plan. In 2023, there will be no new salmon recovery grants. They're just going to go down the list of 2022 and fund those. None of the Gig Harbor projects were on that because we just weren't ready at the time. But I think maybe by end of 2023, we should be a little farther ahead. We'll have a much better design, I think, for our North Creek. And then we nominated and confirmed the 2023 Executive Committee officers. So it was an excellent meeting and looking forward to more of them. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Councilmember Storsett.
Yes, thank you. I just want to give a shout out for the design in here. This looks amazing, incredibly welcoming and festive. And those that are watching, of course, we're in this snow globe over here, but there's snowflakes hanging throughout the office. So as well as packaged doors, like so impressive. So just want to say thanks. I hope we can keep it up maybe through January 9th for our next council meeting. I hope we don't have to take it down after one. So that's all. Thank you.
I think we might have to do that. It's just so beautiful. So this is thanks to our wellness committee and our court staff and Public Works, who had super fun time hanging these lights and being up on the ladders, and they just did an amazing job in here. So we're so happy. And we still have our photo booth up over there with props. So if you feel so inclined after the meeting to take some photos, please do, because we're leaving that up all season. So, okay. Council Member Wook.
Yes, I'm always impressed and grateful when we have citizens write in. And we had one this week that I shared with all of you who was quite pleased with the photo opportunities downtown. So just another thing that Gig Harbor has done to Bedford Falls and to other areas throughout our community for citizens to be involved. It's nice to hear their support. I'm also proud of our citizens who last week expressed their support for our Gig Harbor Police Department, our chief, and all of our officers. When I'm out meeting with citizens, I generally get asked about crime in Gig Harbor. As we all know, our chief wrote a little post about crime in Gig Harbor last week that was on our Facebook page. Our city council and police have been discussing crime in Gig Harbor in a public meeting for well over a year. Yes, things have to change. And that is one reason why this council supported law enforcement potential bills in our 2023 legislative agenda. We know that things need to change. I'm proud of our chief for educating our citizens to something that is discussed every single day in Gig Harbor. Factual conversation, education, knowledge from our chief is vital in quelling rumors. Increased crime is happening every day in every city, not just Gig Harbor. Excuse me. And it's always the right time to discuss how Gig Harbor can be better. So thank you, Chief, for taking your time to write that, and to all our citizens who wrote in support of our police department. Hooray. And again, Robin Denson, I've learned a lot from you. I'm going to miss you. And thank you for your time here.
Thank you. Councilmember Rodenberg.
Just talking a little bit about what Jenny said, not only does this council support the police department, but we also in the 23 budget actually funded 4 additional police officers, which is the largest in many years. So council is quite interested in preventing crime.
Yes, we are. Thank you so much. Any other closing remarks from council? Okay. Seeing none, I would entertain, let's see, announcement of upcoming meetings we have attached to this agenda and as well as the City of Gig Harbor 2-year strategic plan. And with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
Mayor?
I move to.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I
you can do it.
apologize.
That's
On,
Okay.
on behalf of all of our city staff, we wanted to just thank Councilmember Dunson for her service and her consistent support of city staff. You have just been a delight to work with, and we are all going to miss you very much. And it's on behalf of everyone even that couldn't be here.
With that, I think we
Thank
should
you.
stand and applaud Councilmember Dunn.
Thank you.
The honors of adjourning us, Councilmember Dunson.
I will move to adjourn.
Now let's adjourn. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.